And there's new reporting on a phone call between the president and the founder of Amazon, Jeff Bezos. Sources telling CNN that the president at one point wasn't happy earlier today about a report he saw regarding the online retail giant.
President about Amazon's announcement. This is a hostile and political act by Amazon.
On Amazon, in this report that Amazon might start listing the additional cost on specific items put in place.
Picture this. You log on to buy something simple, a phone charger, a winter coat, or a kitchen appliance. But the price has jumped, not because of scarcity or corporate greed, but because of tariffs. At the start of 2025, the Trump administration unveiled a trade policy unlike anything seen before. A sweeping wave of tariffs slammed into imports, setting off a chain reaction that rippled through companies, consumers, and entire economies. Yet the real story here isn't just tariffs or politics. Hidden inside this turmoil is Amazon's bold restructuring, a $13 billion transformation so massive it quietly redrew the map of global trade. The first shock came in April 2025. President Trump announced a baseline tariff of 10% on nearly all imports into the United States, alongside an eye-watering 145% levy on Chinese goods. Observers called it economic warfare. For Amazon, which controls roughly 40% of American e-commerce and relied heavily on Asian suppliers, the tariff struck at the very heart of its model: efficiency and ultra-low prices. Electronics, clothing, and household goods suddenly carried enormous price tags. A report at the time estimated the cost of importing electronics surged by 25%. Amazon faced two impossible choices: absorb billions in losses to keep prices stable, or pass costs on to consumers and risk losing its edge. Neither was sustainable. Within weeks, executives launched a sweeping overhaul. More than $13 billion worth of supply chain contracts were reallocated in record time. Long-standing ties to Chinese factories and Pacific shipping routes were cut or renegotiated. New deals were forged with suppliers in Mexico, India, and Vietnam, regions less affected by U.S. trade policies. This wasn't a minor tweak. It was a seismic shift in global logistics. In less than 2 months, Amazon rewired its entire network, redirecting investments, reshaping
shipping corridor and restructuring distribution centers.
The goal wasn't just cost-cutting. It was survival, protecting Amazon's promise of fast, affordable delivery. To put this in perspective, back in 2018, when tariffs of 25% were imposed on Chinese imports, companies had some room to maneuver. They negotiated, shifted production, or raised prices slowly. But the 145% tariff of 2025 was different. It wasn't a tax you could work around, it was a wall. Smaller businesses collapsed. Amazon, however, had the scale and resources to adapt. But adaptation came with ripple effects. America's ports, trucking fleets, and warehouses, long reliant on Amazon's flow of imports, began to feel the strain. Container traffic through Los Angeles and Long Beach plunged by over 20% as shipments rerouted. Dock workers lost hours. Truck drivers saw contracts shrink. Local economies that depended on trade felt the shock almost immediately. Meanwhile, across the border, a very different story unfolded. In northern Mexico, Amazon expanded at lightning speed. Warehouses and distribution hubs sprouted in cities like Monterrey and Tijuana. By the end of 2025, logistics facilities there had grown by more than 1/3. Goods that once arrived on cargo ships now came by truck across land routes, bypassing tariff-heavy imports. India and Vietnam also became major winners. Vietnam's factories boomed, producing electronics, clothing, and household goods once tied to Shenzhen. India, with its vast workforce and improving infrastructure, attracted billions in Amazon investment. These weren't short-term adjustments, they were long-term commitments that reshaped entire economies. For Vietnam and India, Amazon's pivot meant new jobs, rising incomes, and a stronger role in global trade. For American consumers, it meant something else: higher prices. At first, Amazon tried to shield shoppers by absorbing costs. But by early 2026, analysts warned prices on electronics, clothing, and household essentials jumped 10 to 20%, hitting families with hundreds in extra costs. Retail giants like Walmart and Target warned of shortages as tariffs squeezed an industry driving 70% of U.S. GDP. By 2026, the picture was clear: Amazon's $13 billion pivot shifted supply chains abroad. Mexico's hubs boomed, Vietnam set export records, India rose as a tech and manufacturing force. Meanwhile, U.S. ports slowed, workers faced uncertainty, and consumers paid more. A policy meant to protect Americans strengthened rivals instead. Amazon proved giants adapt, while smaller businesses cannot. Globalization didn't end. It rerouted. Don't forget to like and subscribe.